In response to 25% tariffs President Trump put into effect on foreign cars and car parts, automaker Stellantis announced a pause.
The once bustling factory floors of Stellantis plants now stand eerily silent, their production lines frozen mid-motion like abandoned time capsules. While tariffs were meant to shield American workers, they created unexpected consequences. Manufacturers simply shifted operations overseas rather than reinvesting domestically. Stellantis quietly expanded facilities in countries untouched by trade wars, leaving behind hollowed-out communities where paychecks and purpose once flowed. The policy's ripple effects reach far beyond Washington's intentions, reshaping lives and local economies in ways no spreadsheet could predict. In this video, we'll examine the measurable impacts, from lost jobs to displaced families, and hear directly from those living with the aftermath. When economic powers clash, working-class communities often get crushed beneath the gears. At Canada Connect, we track the global decisions made in boardrooms and government chambers, and reveal how those choices ripple out to real people, real families, and real towns. Tariffs were supposed to protect American industry. Instead, they've become a smokescreen for offshoring. And today, we're pulling back the curtain on how one auto giant used that shield to gut entire communities. Thanks for being here. Your support helps us tell the stories that rarely make the front page, but shape lives across North America. Now let's unpack how Stellantis closed U.S. factories, eliminated thousands of jobs, and used tariff policy as cover to do it. The hard numbers: Stellantis' American job cuts. Stellantis gutted entire communities when they closed plants across 3 states. Look at the footage from Belvidere, Illinois, their former Jeep Cherokee plant. A faded "now hiring" sign still hangs on the security gate after 1,200 workers lost their jobs. This is about towns that built their economies around these factories suddenly being abandoned. The numbers tell the story. 5,000 U.S. jobs cut in 1 year. Belvidere Assembly, Indiana Transmission in Kokomo, Toledo. Machining in Ohio. These weren't just factories, they were community pillars for decades. Belvidere's unemployment spiked from 4.1% to 7.3% in 3 months after the closure. Corporate statements called it optimizing production, but workers lived a different reality. In the words of a Toledo plant veteran, "They called us in Tuesday morning, handed out pink slips by lunch, and had security walk us out by 3 p.m. They told us tariffs would save us. Saved us right out of our jobs." The scale was staggering. While the auto industry averaged 3% workforce reductions, Stellantis cut 10% of their U.S. hourly workers, 3 times the norm. Department of Labor data confirmed these were permanent closures, not temporary layoffs. The timing made it worse. Stellantis posted $18 billion in profits the same year they shuttered these plants. The decision wasn't about survival, it was math. All 3 plants relied on imported parts hit with 25% tariffs. Solution? Shift production to Mexico, where those costs disappeared. Workers saw it coming. Union reps warned tariffs would backfire without relief. Now, Belvidere sits with 1.2 million square feet of empty factory space. Kokomo lost $3 million in annual tax revenue, and Toledo's suppliers are closing. The irony stings. Tariffs were supposed to bring jobs back. Instead, Stellantis used them as cover to leave. The White House promised protection, but workers got pink slips while new plants rose in Coahuila and Guanajuato. The pattern is clear. Profits dictate decisions, workers bear the consequences. 5,000 jobs gone, 3 plants dark, supply chains crumbling. The tariffs didn't force Stellantis' hand, they just gave them an excuse. Play back that worker's quote. "They told us tariffs would save us. They didn't. The jobs are gone. The factories are shuttered. The towns are struggling. Stellantis, they're doing fine, just not here." So why did tariffs backfire so badly? Tariffs 101, the policy that backfired. These tariffs were supposed to be a shield for American manufacturing jobs, a politically popular move promising to revive domestic industry. Instead, they became Stellantis' exit strategy. Let's break down how this unfolded. The administration announced 25% steel tariffs. Stellantis announced the Belvidere plant closure. That timeline isn't coincidental, it's corporate calculus in action. Think of tariffs like a sudden price hike on everyday goods. If milk doubled in cost overnight, you'd change your grocery habits. Stellantis faced that same shock. They relied on imported steel for 37% of North American production, and when tariffs hit, their material costs jumped $300 per vehicle. For high-volume models like the Jeep Cherokee, that erased the entire $280 per vehicle profit margin. Suddenly, every SUV rolling out of Belvedere lost money. The problem extended beyond steel. Stellantis depended on a global supply chain now burdened with new taxes, aluminum hoods from Canada, transmission parts from Germany, even wiring harnesses from Mexico. Compare that to Ford, who sourced 90% of steel domestically, or Toyota, who redesigned their supply chain to avoid tariffs. Stellantis did neither. Here's the math. A single Jeep Cherokee cost $24,500 to produce pre-tariffs. After tariffs added $842 in extra costs, the plant lost $562 per vehicle. Scale that to 150,000 Cherokees annually, and Belvedere bled $84 million per year. Trade experts predicted this. The Peterson Institute warned tariffs would cost automakers more than any protection they offered. Stellantis proved them right. While the administration claimed tariffs were revitalizing American manufacturing, Stellantis cut 5,000 jobs. Other automakers adapted. GM renegotiated supplier contracts. Ford shifted to aluminum. Stellantis took the simplest path, shut U.S. plants and moved production to Mexico. Their new Saltillo factory opened 6 months after Belvedere closed, a $400 million investment while U.S. plants decayed. The tariff to job loss pipeline is clear. Tax imports, raise costs, cut margins, shutter plants, shift production. Stellantis followed every step. They didn't fight tariffs. They used them as cover to chase lower costs. Belvedere's empty, Kokomo's struggling, Toledo's supply chain is collapsing, and Stellantis, their stock price hit a 5-year high. The tariffs didn't force their hand. They just gave them an alibi. Corporate versus government. Who's really to blame? Were these closures inevitable or planned all along? Look at this footage from Coahuila. Stellantis' brand new $400 million transmission plant under construction while their Indiana facility sits empty after laying off 1,000 workers. Their shareholder reports called this strategic realignment to tariff advantage production zones, revealing a premeditated move, not a forced reaction. The numbers show Stellantis' aggressive shift. 23% of North American production moved from the U.S. between 2019 and 2023, compared to Ford's 9% and GM's 11%. CEO Carlos Tavares framed this as necessary optimization during a 2022 investor call, a clinical term that masked the human cost. 2 weeks later, the board approved $21 million in executive bonuses while worker pensions were cut. Here's the pattern. When tariffs hit, Ford redesigned vehicles, GM renegotiated contracts, Stellantis simply closed U.S. plants and expanded in Mexico. Their Saltillo facility now builds more engines than all American plants combined. The timing proves intent. Belvedere's closure announcement preceded April permits for a new Guanajuato stamping plant. Their restructuring plan openly prioritized cost-effective jurisdictions. The disconnect sharpens in the details. UAW contracts show $28 per hour wages at closed plants versus $4.50 per hour in Mexico. Kokomo lost 7 suppliers. Toledo saw 14 manufacturers close. Belvedere's mayor testified to $18 million in lost annual tax revenue. Yet Stellantis' SEC filings tout geographic diversification to mitigate policy-driven costs, spending $1.2 billion on Mexican facilities since 2019 versus $300 million on U.S. upgrades. A leaked memo titled Project Atlas, dated 6 months before tariffs, planned shifting 30% of U.S. production to Mexico by 2025. One line stands out: external policy changes may provide acceleration opportunities. Tariffs became cover, not cause. The hardest truth? GM invested $2 billion domestically. Ford added 3,000 Ohio jobs. Stellantis fired 5,000 workers while bragging about $1.4 billion in annualized cost savings. As one laid-off Kokomo worker put it, they were always going where labor was cheaper. Washington won't answer why tariffs rewarded offshoring instead of punishing it. Workers knew. Towns knew. Shareholders profited. This wasn't policy failure. It was corporate opportunism, proving American jobs were expendable. Tariffs just made them expensive enough to cut. Ghost towns, the human cost. The drone shot reveals Belvedere's main street, half the storefronts boarded up, a blank space where the hardware store once stood. The diner across the street, which served third-shift workers for 53 years, now displays a hand-painted sign, "Thanks for the memories," closed permanently. This is a town whose heartbeat has nearly stopped. Rob Meeks, a 19-year machinist at the Toledo plant, embodies the collapse. "I made $28 an hour with benefits. Now I'm stocking shelves at Kroger for $15, he says. His son quit college when Rob could no longer co-sign loans. His wife lost her cafeteria job the same day. Surveys show 62% of laid-off Stellantis workers took pay cuts of 40% or more. In Kokomo, Janine Cobb's family auto shop survived 2 generations until now. "We did 80% of our business with Stellantis workers," she explains. "Last month, I sold 7 tires. In 2018, that was a slow Tuesday afternoon. Her sales dropped 73%. Foreclosure looms. The multiplier effect is brutal. According to University of Michigan economists, every auto job lost erased 2.7 others. Belvedere cut its police force by 15%. The high school axed its welding program. The hospital closed its maternity ward. Walk through Kokomo's industrial park. 7 suppliers shuttered. Ace Stamping laid off 140. Tifton, Tool and Die, open 44 years, couldn't survive. No plant, no orders, owner Greg Hanshaw admits. Bankruptcies in the county rose 28%. The human toll echoes in unexpected places. Belvedere's food pantry served 90 families monthly pre-closure. Now it's 340. The Methodist Church's free laundry service has worn out 2 donated machines since January. These are skilled tradesmen who built America's cars, Pastor Jim Wallace emphasizes. Retraining programs, the Federal Trade Adjustment Assistance offered $10,000 for courses, but the closest center is 45 miles away. Most jobs pay half their Stellantis wages. Diner owner Linda Pearson's building sold for a quarter of its 2018 value. This place fed shift workers for 50 years, she says. Now, there's nobody left to serve. Economic studies suggest 12 to 15 years to recover, if ever. Youngstown never bounced back after steel collapsed. Detroit's population still hasn't rebounded. Belvedere lost 11% of its working-age adults in 2 years. They're not unemployed. They're gone. Kokomo's school superintendent testified before Congress. Plummeting test scores mirror plant closures. "When parents lose hope, kids stop trying," she said. The district cut 37 teachers last year. Stellantis' Mexican plants run 3 shifts. Their investment there doubled since 2020. Meanwhile, Belvedere's facility rusts. Its price slashed 60% with no offers. The jobs aren't coming back. The workers know it. The towns know it. Stellantis stopped returning the mayor's calls 6 months ago. Conclusion. The factories are closed. The jobs are gone, but the story isn't over. What happened in Belvedere, Kokomo, and Toledo isn't just about economics. It's about people who were promised protection and handed pink slips instead. These aren't isolated cases. They're part of a wider pattern where policy is shaped to sound strong but serve shareholders, where headlines praise resilience but main streets are left hollow. At Canada Connect, we'll keep tracking how global decisions are reshaping local realities, because what happens in one town today could echo across a nation tomorrow. Thank you for watching and for standing with us as we keep asking the questions others won't. Until next time, stay informed, stay sharp, and never stop paying attention.